Welcome to this second installment of Ask Dr. Callie. In case you missed the first, I am Dr. Callie Cyrus and I'm a board certified psychiatrist, which means that I went to medical school. But unlike my emergency room doctor, ICU room doctor, physician colleagues, I am sitting in a living room right now on a different kind of front lines. And so while they might be fighting the coronavirus, up close and personal, right up in the face, and the N95s that are really not available, so they're using the same ones and risking their lives. I'm here. I'm here with you, fighting the Rona rage, a different kind of battle. And I'm on the front lines with you. You're not alone. We're in our homes trying to stay sane. And that's what I'm going to help you do today. So, I'm essentially here to offer some information and education to help stop the pandemic, also known as Rona rage. So every week, at least for the foreseeable future, or unless no one watches, I'll be offering tidbits of information to turn you into warriors against the Rona rage. And I must give my disclaimer, the content of this video is not intended to treat or diagnose any medical or psychological problem or be used as a substitute for face-to-face professional advice. For the rest of it, why don't you see the disclaimer that's going to scroll probably up this right now or be in the bottom in the little subject area. The one thing I do want to say is that if you are having thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself, someone else, or in the middle of a clinical emergency, you can call 911, report to your closest emergency room, although you'll be more likely to get the coronavirus in person, or call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. With that being said, if you do have questions that are non-emergent and more comical or just something I can actually answer, you can email them to askdrcallie@gmail.com. And I will do my best to respond with information, not treatment, but information that is general enough to maintain anonymity and hopefully offer some educational tidbits that relate to other questions I might be having. Okay? And if you actually email me, that means you accept this disclaimer. So now, moving on. So the first question this week it's a good one. This is kind of like a twofer, I guess I would say. What would you say to couples that are working in the same house together and are therefore spending a lot of time together as it is? Should they be planning date nights? So I'm not going to tell you who wrote this question, but they may or may not be engaged to me. Anyway, not that she is having any trouble working in the same house as but in case she were. Where do I start? The first thing I would say is think about your usual work days, right? What's your work schedule like and what's your partner's work schedule like, or even just roommate, right? Does one of you usually work from home and then the other one of you is kind of like the interloper who's like, creeping around, not quite sure what to do? Do you both work in offices? What time do you usually see each other? If you usually see each other in the morning before you go to work and then when you get home, I would say try to establish a routine that keeps that going. So wake up at your normal times, have your coffee talk, right? Go to a different part of the house, or if you live in a studio, maybe go for a little walk or try to be in different parts of the room or the studio or apartment. And then maybe treat yourself to like a lunch together. So it's kind of like, I'm having lunch with my partner every day. And you don't have to do it every day. But you just have to kind of pretend. It's kind of like Peter Pan hook world right now. But then around dinner time, I think for the sake of your relationship, if you like this person, which I hope you do, you should be wanting to spend some time with them. And in that way, you've also given ample attention to your job as well. And then you're able to turn off, because right now that's going to be really important. It's getting off the computer at dinner time and trying to resume some semblance of like a normal working schedule, if that's the kind of job you work. If you work a job where you have more abnormal hours and both partners have more abnormal hours, then I would say try to establish whatever that 9 to 5 is at the hours that work for you. So if it's noon to 8, then I would do that. And then, reconvene with your partner at 8 o'clock when things are more at a normal kind of schedule for you all. What I'd also say is give yourself some grace, right? So this is kind of my gray area way of answering this question, which is that acknowledge it's going to get frustrating. Acknowledge you're going to get on each other's nerves, right? Acknowledge that one week, one of you is going to get on each other's nerves more than the other one. And then the other week, the other partner's going to do it too. Part of this is testing a relationship. And I will say the one thing that will help that relationship work is the 60-40 rule. Essentially, if there's a conflict, for the most part, each person has some kind of role in it. Whether it's 60, whether it's 40, whether it's 50, probably depends on the way that you think. I try to do 60-40. That means that I win some of the time, she wins some of the time. And then there are times where I'm like, I don't know about this. I definitely think it's more of like an 80-20, but I just let myself stay at 50-50 for that, okay? That's when I have a little bit of a hard time acknowledging what I've done. But anyway, you're going to have to realize that it's going to be tough. So don't try to pretend like, oh my God, we have a perfect relationship, and kind of sweep it under the rug. That doesn't help anybody. At the same time, the opposite, right? It's like, oh, our relationship is up in ruins. No, it's not necessarily up in ruins, right? Maybe this is your way of learning that you're moving in too quickly. But couples have a hard time with doing this. You don't spend all day together. And if you do, then you're already soaring at this. We happen to be doing a little better than usual because I'm a bit of a crazy person in an office schedule. So I'm in my natural habitat. And so that's why each couple is a little different. But I would say try to resume whatever your schedule is. And so what that means is that you still got to do special things, right? It's a little warm in here. So if you guys have date nights, when are you going to do your date nights? Try to schedule in your date nights. This one's a bit more difficult because you can't leave the house. But this means that for all of you creative folks out there, you romantico Casanovas, come up with something, a little different. So, for example, I taught my partner how to play gin rummy last night, although she really wanted to play rummy and kept playing with the rummy rules. Still, it was some quality time. Thinking about hosting a virtual kind of concert for her. We were supposed to go to a show in DC on Sunday that was canceled. And so I was thinking about just setting up the music and getting dressed up like I was going to a concert, which is may sound a little cheesy, but she happens to like cheesy things. So things like that. I think this is a really great opportunity to show your partner something special. If you have kids, this is a completely different ball game, right? Again, all I have is a dog named Freddie, and I can just lock him in a room or something. I don't do that though. Sometimes I do when I need to. But what I would say is take some turns, right? To sort of have one of you guys with the kids for a couple hours, the other with the kids for a couple hours. And if you have a partner who that's hard to do, set a timer. And I was going to say the next thing is if you have a partner who you think is going to want more attention some days, because this is also you're trying to pretend like you're having a normal schedule inside the house while the world is kind of blowing up outside. And it's unrealistic to think that you're just going to be able to go about this schedule. So one partner's going to freak out at one part of the day, another partner's going to freak out. So what I believe in is preemptively scheduling check-ins. That way the check-ins don't come to you when you're in the middle of something and you're not trying to be checked out. So if you schedule the check-ins yourself with your partner, you're ahead of the game. And so maybe partner needs a little kiss break, a little hug break, a little, hey, how you doing? The world is okay kind of break. So I would go ahead and set that timer schedule we talked about last week, 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off, 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off. It's a good opportunity to have 2 of those minutes dedicated to your partner or your dog. Okay, so we're going to move on. I think I did a good job answering that one. Besides this sweat thing that's happening. Anyway, we're going to move on. This isn't a mirror. This is a camera. Question 2. This one's a bit more difficult. That's why I've saved it for last. I'm concerned about losing my job, but I still need to be productive. How should I manage this anxiety without letting it impact my work? So this one is more complicated because it's touching on something that we can't control, right? Or maybe you can, which is losing the job. Right now, if you're going to lose a job, this is a pretty crappy time to lose a job, but at least it wasn't because of something you did. It's because of the coronavirus, and you are not going to let its auntie Rona rage come and get you, okay? So that's the first thing, is know that this is bigger than you, okay? You couldn't have predicted this. Even if you didn't do a good job of planning, tell yourself you did what you could, because really, who could have predicted this? I mean, maybe the government had some time to kind of get in front of it and make it better, but they didn't. So who could have predicted this? You're doing your best, okay? So give yourself a little pat on the back, even though that's not really going to help, because if you lose your job, what are you going to do about money? So I don't know what you're doing, but if I was in danger of losing my job, I'd be pacing around the house. I'd be thinking about, can I afford X? Can I afford this? Can I get this delivery? X, Y, Z. And so it's stressful. So the first thing you do, give yourself some grace and generosity. that it's normal to feel anxious, okay? So if you're one of these people who's like, no, I'm too strong, I can't feel anxiety, don't do that. Just give that up. Everybody feels anxiety. It's normal. If you don't feel it, it's just going to sit in there and bottle up, and you're going to get Rona rage even faster and worse than everyone else. And then your body's going to be all immune system compromised because you let the stress and Rona rage build up inside of that. So just acknowledge that it's a stressful thing thinking about losing your job. So then moves you on to, I tend to kind of move through and move to problem solving too quickly. So I would say for those of you who are not inclined to move into problem solving, lean into the feelings, but don't, like Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, lean in, okay? Because you're going to have to get yourself back out. But if you have a fear of losing your job, don't just sweep it under the rug. Think about the thoughts and the feelings attached to it. So the thoughts are, I'm losing my job, I'm losing my job. If you find yourself that just like kind of like on this hamster wheel thinking about this, then you think about what's the feelings attached to that, right? If you imagine this in your head, this is like CBT basics. You imagine 3 columns: thoughts, feelings, actions. The thoughts are, I'm losing my job, I'm losing my job, for people who are really thinking about this. The next column, feelings. What are the feelings attached to that? Anxiety, fear, helplessness. And so some of this is writing it out so you can get it out of your system. Not everyone can just sweep it under the rug and move to problem solving, right? It's not always helpful. So this is like your way of actually saying, what am I afraid of? So fear of losing my job, anxiety, helplessness, guilt, right? Maybe I didn't plan well enough. Helplessness, this is not in my control. It was a great employee. Anxiety, when is it going to happen? Like, how do I do something about this? Fear, it's like, how am I going to get through the rest of the year? So these are all realistic feelings to have attached to this one thought. So maybe that's the first educational point, is that you be having multiple feelings besides just anxiety attached to this one thing. But then the last column is actions, which is my favorite part. As someone who likes to sweep those feelings under the rug, which isn't a good idea, is what are you going to do, right? So if the first feeling is, I'm feeling fearful, what am I going to do for the rest of the year? So one way to, as you work yourself through this little chart and do yourself of like recognizing that you're feeling fearful, is make a budget. Figure out what you're going to do for the rest of the year, right? Like if you know you might lose your job, come up with how you're going to pay your bills. And if that's different from how you're currently paying your bills. So I'm not necessarily recommending this, but what I would do is I would scour the blogs for some financial advice. Mint.com. I would use NPR has all these great podcasts now about budgeting. There's a lot of information out there, but whatever it is, you're going to need a budget. And so this is a great time to start learning it, especially if you're not at work. You probably have more time on your hands to just look into that. I think the next is helplessness, right? Which is like, I was a great employee and then I'm losing my job and it's not my control. So one thing to do is to think about what made you such a good employee. Maybe this is a good time to update your CV. Maybe this is a good time to research what other jobs you can bring your strengths to that may be more, not consistent, that's not the word, more reliable or more resilient in a time like this, because who knows what the rest of the year is going to be like. But this is a good time to sort of say, you know what, I don't want to be in a position next time to feel this helpless. If it's possible, what other kind of roles can I bring my skills to that I have more control over if there is a crisis, or what will I do next time? I think one of the other things that what did I list? Fear, helplessness, guilt, which is, what did I do? What do you think, like, what did I do to deserve to be on the chopping block, right? And I think this one is going to be one of those tough ones, right? Because I don't really know what you did. You probably didn't do anything, but you got this guilt that comes down from when you were like way back when. We're not going to get into Freud right now, but a lot of it is true. For whatever reason, you're feeling like you did something wrong to deserve this. And I suppose if you're like a bad person, maybe some of this is karma, but chances are it's not. You're in the same boat as a lot of people right now, which is like a crappy kind of thing. And so the guilt, I would say, is don't be too hard on yourself. Easier said than done. But think about why you're being so hard on yourself and where that automatic feeling and thought comes from. Do you have a parent or a loved one kind of makes you feel like you're not doing enough and that's why you lost your job, then you know what? If that's the case, take some of that blame off of you. I'm not saying throw it on someone else, but I'm just saying take some of it off of you, because feeling guilty about yourself is not going to help you necessarily move on. So that box is think through why I might be feeling so guilty about myself, and if that's actually being placed from me or from someone else. Other things to do include, this is a good time to actually let your creative juices just, roam. You got some time to have fun. Also, there might have been a little glitch. My computer thing was going to sleep. But maybe now you actually have a time to work on your next project, the next thing that you want to sell to somebody, or the next sort of participation in the gig economy that you think you're going to be up for. But this is a good time to do some thinking, but you're never going to be able to do it if you're stuck in the thoughts and feelings land and you don't actually move on to the action land. But the tough part is knowing that you have to do all three to kind of get to the end of the tunnel here. So I want to be clear in that I'm not saying move on quickly from your concern about losing your job, because it's not something to move on from. It's a tough thing that's happening right now. Like, I just want to acknowledge that. But at the same time, there are a lot of people in this boat. Reach out to other friends, find out what they're doing. Maybe you can start some kind of collective, but also, like, you got the job in the first place. So there's something about you. So lean into it, figure out what it is, try to channel that and line yourself up for the next projects, and reach out to some friends, okay? And watch or listen to my segment next week. And email me some questions, askdrcallie.com. I don't want to have to get questions from my partner. I'm not going to say that that's desperate. But what I'm saying is that I'd really love to hear from some of you. Perhaps this is my way of channeling my fears, and I'd really like your help with information and education and tidbits, not treatment. Anyway, it was really nice speaking to you guys this week. Hope all is well. Take care of yourself, and good luck in your endeavors. And I will see you next week. Hopefully with some more AC or something happening right now.